Here we go again. Hi guys, it's Shade here. How's it going? Welcome back to Fanservice Friday. Today we're going to be continuing with Time Tenshi. Last time, the girls had another trip through the time window after we went to Kyoto to get herself some super sexy lingerie. And afterwards, we debated a little bit on the idea of is it gross or hypocritical for a man to notice a woman's cleavage? It's a very touchy subject. We actually touched base. Kenji actually made a few good points, and then we saw someone sneaking into the lab. Well, sneaking out of the lab, but they may have seen us, so we just pretended we went back to sleep. So right now, we're going to continue exactly where we left off. I went silent, feeling my breath slow and heartbeat relax as my tired mind overcame me, slowly drifting off to sleep. Alright, Kenji, time to wake up. Ugh, is it going to be like this all of us every morning? Now get up! I felt something cold and metallic poke me on the side. Ah! There he is. Now come on, we got work to do, and we like you out there too. I managed to look up and see Rose, already in her outfit intended for the time window. Were the women from Cronetech up to their deeds again? After a minute of gaining my bearings, I stepped out into the main hall, then into the lab. Inside were all three of the girls as well as my grandfather. Alright, ladies, ready to go through? Remember, we're going back to roughly the mid-1700s, China. Why are we going again? Confirmation on the Qing dynasty. It's pretty well documented. We just wanted to see the validity of the said documentation. Now go ahead and head out. Kenji here yet? Yes, over here. I stepped up to the platform, looking out at the time window as it began humming, warming up to activate. Excellent. Hang here for a minute so I can get a second pair of eyes. Any Cronetech to worry about this time? Not that I can see thus far. Looks like a pretty quiet time. Usually they lay low for a few days before setting up another adventure. We take that downtime as an opportunity to do what we initially intended to do with the time window. I nodded and stepped back, watching the time window as it whirred to life. The girl stepped through, vanishing through the flash of light. Here we go again. Our last trip wasn't that long ago, Rose. Are you still anxious? I don't know, Kyo. For some reason, every time we go through, we seem to get bigger. Really? Why do you sound so excited about that? I don't know. She just said that she just liked being big. Well, not to me. Well, not to you. To us. Both girls gasped as the effects took hold. This time, in sudden bursts, their chests vaulted forward, their cambering curves making their tops stretch outwards as they gained inch after inch of bust. Rose started wide-eyed, watching as the girl took on a new form compared with the one she was used to. It was a slow build-up usually, but now it seemed so spontaneous and sudden. The thought that the effects upon her body were different every time worried her, and she bit her lip as another burst of growth made her expand several more inches in the bust. Kyo, on the other hand, did a little more than giggle as her boobs reached the size of her head. Even at such a ridiculous size, she didn't seem to mind, as she had gotten much bigger in the past. Well, if she feels much better because of her boobs, I'm not sure if that's such a bad thing. I'm gonna shut up before I piss someone off. While Rose saw giant boobs as a burden, Kyo outwardly loved seeing them get all big and swollen like they did, and she even bounced in place, watching them jiggle and sway proudly in her skimpy outfit. Ugh, do you have to like it so much? Do you have to hate it so much? Kyo stuck her tongue out at Rose, while Rose did the same thing, a scowl on her face as they eventually reached their desired time period. Oh man. This needs to be an anime. It'd be insanely popular. Oh gosh, why do they always have to be so heavy? Aren't you doing the back exercises like Michelle told you? Yeah, well, I mean, most of the time. As in never. Kyo giggled and teasingly poked Rose in the boob, watching her ripples wash across the vast surface. They look nice as always. I really don't see why you don't like them. They're big, heavy, and impractical, Kyo. They don't have to be if you know how to use them. I just practice a bunch. I used to be a flatty before Rose, and I can handle them just fine, so you really don't have an excuse. Oh, shut it. We're here on a mission, not to stare at each other's chests. Oh, you're no fun. I was just about to have some fun fondling them. Calm down, Shade. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Okay, seriously, Kyo, cut it out. We need to get to work. Gosh, I was just kidding. Let's go, you big grump. This reminds me of. This kind of reminds me of Sekirei. Except instead of time traveling, it's a bunch of supernatural big breasted women and sometimes flat-chested women and one little girl. But if that's not too much. It's just over the top raunchiness. I don't see how. It's just funny. Kyo's right. It's just funny. So Michelle, yes. She was still fiddling with screens and interfaces, not looking up from what she was doing. I waited until she wasn't distracted before deciding to ask my question. So, have you ever sent a mail through the time window before? Michelle hesitated, giving me a glance before hitting a button or two turning in her chair to face me. You want to go with them, don't you? I never said that. I was just wondering, since only females have gone through, if there were any complications with males going through? Well, no, we haven't sent through males though. Tenshi has always needed to stay behind, both due to his importance back at the base and due to his old age. You see, we aren't sure what might happen to male travelers, since it affects the female endocrine system. I'd be concerned when a male goes through. He would come back female. So what you're saying is, due to the fact that it affects that specific part of the brain where females going through the time window, we have concerns that somehow, some way, a male might get a blast of estrogen and end up severely messing up his body up. It's something I'd rather not risk, even if it isn't as simple as boy to girl. It could be something very drastic or dangerous, understand? I nodded, stepping back and watching the screen. I don't know, I'd be interested too. Actually add another spin on this surface. Gender bending. Pretty sure a lot of people out there would love to see that. It's a weird form of erotica. Both Rose and Kyo wandered through the streets of 18th century China, getting a good look at their surroundings. What they were trying to confirm, I wasn't sure. As we stood there, I felt heat coming off of the time window generator, more than I had usually felt prior. Shrugging it off as ignorance or lack of observance, I continued to watch the monitor. It was when Michelle began to type and fiddle around with the interface hurriedly that I picked up that something was wrong. What's going on? I'm not sure. I feel as if... She rolled her chair over to another section, and as she did, I felt a blast of heat emit from the machine, knocking me backwards into the center of the platform. Kenji, get away from there! That's a very dangerous place to... It was too late. Just as she tried to prevent it, the time window opened. It seemed as if it were forcibly being opened, like a crowbar opening a rusty door. Cronetech must have been hacking them. Before Michelle could do anything to stop it, the window suddenly swallowed me up, taking me through. I couldn't even scream in time before I felt like there was no air around me. The last thing I could hear before getting sucked in was Michelle screaming my name in panic. For a moment, I felt weightless, as if I was getting pulled gently through space. My chest felt heavy, my head felt high. Soon, the gentle drifting gained speed gradually, then faster and faster until I felt like a comet shooting through space. This feeling came to a sudden and painful halt as the world finally materialized around me. What? Where am I? Did I go through the... Suddenly, I looked down at myself, expecting the worst. Expecting my body to be dramatically different. To my relief, everything was normal. I checked my head and my hair, same as it ever was. Everything about me seemed the same exact way it was before I had been dragged through the time window. I stood slowly, observing my surroundings. I appeared to be in a street of some kind, and there were glowing lanterns right beside me, with a distinctly Chinese-looking building positioned at the end of the street. The question was, who dragged me through? Before I could think of it for much longer, I heard calls from a distance. I turned to the source of the sound to see both Kyo and Rose dashing toward me, waving their arms to get my attention. I waved back. They slowed, walking towards me as I walked towards them. Eventually, we were face to face again, and... Thank goodness we found you! I was so worried. I thought the time window might have ripped you to shreds. When it goes out of control like that, there's no telling what could happen. Yeah. You doing alright there, Kenji? How many fingers am I holding up? 3. I think it's less his head and more our bodies, Kyo. Oh, right. You haven't been able to see us like this up close, have you? Lucky for you, our minds don't change until we go back through the time window. Why is that? According to Michelle, it's a mixture of a second blast as well as an immediate withdrawal. Since we're always affected while in a different time, our bodies are continually getting an excess amount of estrogen. How can that not hurt you? I don't know. We don't know. Michelle can't really explain it either. But we take it in our stride. As long as we aren't here for too long, there won't be too many adverse side effects. Ooh, remember that time when we were still figuring it out and got stuck in 18th century France for like 2 whole days? Yes, I remember that quite clearly, Kyo. Not one of our finer moments. Wait, what happened? Well, we were still working out all the kinks and the machine sort of broke down for a bit. While Kyo was still through the time window. Yeah, it was kind of scary being stuck in an alternate time period for so long, especially with my curves constantly growing the whole time. Remember how huge my boobs got, Rose? Yes, I remember. We were lucky you could actually fit through the time window at all. The swelling still didn't wear off all the way. What do you mean? Well, let's just say that Kyo wasn't as well developed when she initially went through the time window on that trip. Hey! What? It's true. Yeah, but he doesn't need to know that. Not like I'm okay with people knowing that I was, like, a total flatty before that day. Wait, really? Hey, you told him, not me. Darn it! Ugh, anyway, we're getting off target here. We need to take Kenji back to our time right now. Michelle's orders. Aw, can't we just hang out in the Queen Dynasty with Kenji for just a little while? He's never been through the time window before. Which is exactly why we need to bring him back immediately. We have no idea what its effects it has on his body. He may look and feel fine, but the longer he is here, the more we put him at risk. You don't say. Oh gosh, don't tell me. Nice to see you ladies again. And who's this you got here? Aren't you supposed to be on vacation, you pest? But justice never sleeps, my dear sweet Rose. It seems he got through just fine. That's good. Well, he's... no, I kind of like her design. Although, that outfit's makes me a bit flustered, but I don't know. What are you saying? Do you have something to do with Kenji coming through? You could say that. It's our job to test the limitations of the time window, so yes, we played a big role in bringing him here. Well, allow us to thank you for that, then. Ooh, fight scene. I watched as Rose unsheathed her sword, and not long after, Kyo turned her feather duster into a whip, and they stared the 2 girls down. Ugh. I wish it could be more than a visual novel, though. It's perfect. I felt as I was stuck in the middle of a small war. Suddenly, Bunny dashed forward and wrapped her legs around my lower half. I couldn't react quick enough. I struggled in place, her body squishing against mine. I could feel her breast pushing onto my chest. What's wrong, little guy? Have these girls been teasing you all this time? With their skimpy outfits and outlandish proportions? If you come with us, I'll promise to give you all the attention you deserve. Hands off him! I heard a swift crack sound as Bunny's legs unwrapped from me. Kyo was suddenly in front of me, ready to defend me against the 2 of them. Rose was not far behind, her sword poised for combat. I honestly didn't expect a battle. I could have sworn he'd come willingly, but if that's how we have to play it... Mizuki unsheathed her own blade, a katana, with this glaring through me and over to Rose. Time stood still for a moment, all 4 girls giving each other a stern stare. Oh, stern stare down. Oh, gotta work better. While I stood there like an idiot, waiting for someone to make their first move. Just as I thought time itself had frozen, Bunny made a quick maneuver, going for a swift kick towards Kyo's hand, like in an attempt to disarm her. The attempt backfired, however, as Kyo's quick reflexes kicked in, pulling her hand back, then whipping it forward, catching Bunny's legs with her whip. She pulled back, Bunny flying upwards and landing on her butt, leg upright in the air. As I watched this unfold, I almost didn't notice Mizuki as she retaliated, charging forward with her sword at the ready. Before she could do any harm, however, Rose intervened, blocking Mizuki's blade with her own. They stood there, blades crossed, glaring at each other with distaste. I could only stand there. I felt so useless, but the fact of the matter was that I was unarmed, and that these women were both extremely dangerous. You seem to care quite a bit about this one. What are you worried about? What do you think he could possibly do? It's not about what you can do, it's what you will do. We know all about your Crone Tech creeps, your horrible experience and your criminal ways. Criminals? If anyone is a criminal here, then it's you 2, stopping us from our research. We're from advancing the possibilities of the time window. You have no idea what we could do with this thing. the places we can go, the things we could change, the tragedies we could prevent. We wanted to do all that too. We really did, but... Kyo paused, and I noticed that it was taking a lot of restraint to keep Bunny tangled up in her whip. Bunny, as calm as she looked, was putting up a great struggle to get herself out of Kyo's grip. We all decided that time was too unstable to be altered, that if we tried to change things just for our liking and for what we thought was better for the world, that we could end up doing more harm than good. You don't know that for sure. We've done this song and dance before, and yet you've never had any proof. Here we are, back 300 years before we ever should have existed. Isn't that enough? Shouldn't time be in shambles now? Your theories are pathetic and inaccurate. You can't just keep us from pushing the limits. It's what Tensai wanted. You know nothing of what Tensai wanted! In a fit of rage, Rose shoved Mizuki back with a great force, knocking her to the ground, then turned her blade quickly to Bunny, pointing it at her face in a threatening manner. Her face was contorted with rage and bloodlust. I stood by that man for 2 whole years, helping him design the time window, brick by brick. Kyo was there every minute to make sure that when we went through it, our heads wouldn't explode, and Tensai only ever wanted to make this thing, because he wanted to see if he could. There was a pause, then Bunny let out a scoff and a pitiful laugh. So you're telling me that Tensai, one of the greatest scientific minds of our generation, was acting like a child? Trying to test out a new toy? That's worse than what I was calling him, my dear. At least I regard him as a Silence! With that word, she brought down her blade, slashing Bunny with a formidable swing of her mighty sword. Bunny let out a gasp in shock, but it quickly turned into a grin, looking Rose directly in the eyes. Her clothes slowly disintegrated, and I made an effort to look as if I was averting my eyes. One step at a time, my dear. Science will prevail. I promise you. And with that, she vanished, leaving Kyo's whip to go limp without Bunny's leg with its grasp. They both looked over at Mizuki, who eyed them cautiously, blade in hand. She slowly sheathed it, keeping her eyes dead on them as she did. You will find out one day that the safe road is not always the correct route to take. When this finally occurs to you, we will be waiting. She suddenly held up her hands and clasped them together before disappearing into a cloud of smoke. For a moment, all 3 of us stood there, staring off into the distance in silence. After a bit, Rose sheathed her own blade, walking over to me and placing a hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry you had to be here for this mess. Let's get you home. Before your shirt busts again? I could tell Kyo wanted to diffuse the tension, and for me, it seemed to work, making me smirk and blush at a remark. Rose looked over at her friend, obviously aggravated. It's not my fault that someone wanted to stop at the candy store on the way back from Belgium! Ugh, you admitted yourself that you wanted to go get some chocolate there too. I told you that the straps were getting uncomfortable. Just as the argument began to heat up, a small hole of light appeared before us, the time window. Rose let out a dismissive sigh before stepping through, Kyo in tow. I braced myself before walking through, letting the strange sensation take hold of me as I was dragged through time. It had been several hours since I went through the time window. Grandpa had immediately taken me into the experimental lab and looked over at me until the effects of the time window had worn off the girls. They walked in and began their observations. It doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary has occurred with him. From what I've been able to gather, he's just fine. Heart rate normal, brain waves are still functioning at the correct wavelength, endocrine system hasn't fluctuated, both his estrogen and testosterone levels are completely normal. It's as if he didn't go through the time window at all. Could it be that men aren't affected by the time window? It's a distinct possibility, but I don't have enough evidence to say either way. One trip doesn't justify everything after all. We'll just have to keep an eye on Kenji in the meantime. I'll be looking over the time window and making sure nothing like this ever happens again. Got it. I'll stick here with Kenji and monitor his vitals. I feel fine, Kyo, honest. That may be so, Kenji, but we just want to make sure that everything is alright. This is new territory we're wading through, and we just need to ensure we're being safe. I said nothing as Tensai looked over at me. I could tell there was worry in his face, but also a look of complete confidence. He ushered everyone but Kyo out of the room, closing the door behind him. I lay there on a gurney for a while, several wires attached to various places on my chest and head. Kyo just looked at the monitors intently. Kyo, I swear I feel fine. Kyo, is there something wrong? Why did you do it, Kenji? What? Why'd you go through the time window? Her back was still facing me, looking at the monitors. I was confused, but that confusion swiftly turned to anger. What, you think I voluntarily walked through the time window? Like it was some kind of midnight stroll or something? Am I supposed to believe that it just pulled you through? As if it had a mind of its own? I know that sounds crazy, but yeah, it does, Kenji. This is a machine, a dangerous one at that, and I don't want to see anyone get hurt. You could have seriously injured yourself when you went through the time window, accident or not. She turned to me. She had tears in her eyes, her face scrunched up in sadness and fear. When Michelle contacted Rose and I about you getting stuck through time, I thought she was sending us to find a dead man. As she said those words, a cold silence hung in the air. She shook, tears beginning to stream down her face. Kyo, Kenji, you've only been a part of this team for less than a week, but it's my job, everyone's job to protect you. Your grandfather brought you here, knowing how dangerous this environment was, knowing that what might happen. But he brought you here because he wanted you to forget about what happened. To forget about my family burning to death. Is that it, Kyo? My words seemed to be a punch to the face to her, as if she had collected herself before continuing. I'm sorry, Kenji. I really am. I know whenever you're with me, I tend to make you remember instead of helping you forget. I really don't mean to. It's just, I think of how horrible it must have been for something like that to happen. She got closer to me, walking to the side of the gurney and taking my hand. I look at her, my face got going red. For all the things that happened to you, the incident, the time window, all of this, you've been so incredibly strong. And me, I've been a complete mess. I'm not even the one it happened to. Kyo. And for that, I feel pathetic. I get too caught up with other people's problems and emotions, and look at me now. I'm a mess. She let out a mix of laughter and a sob, squeezing my hand a bit, sniffling as she tried to collect herself. I just hate feeling like this, like I'm inferior somehow. I always feel like this, even before you were here. I felt inferior to Michelle because of how amazing she was at technology, inferior to Rose because of her ability to design. And here I am, experimenting with rodents and making test chambers, and I looked at her, squeezing her hand reassuringly before bringing my other hand to her face. This seemed to calm her. Hey, listen to me, Kyo. You're not inferior, okay? You need to focus on the things that you're good at, rather than the things you can't do. Sure, you're no Michelle or Rose, but when you're through the time window and you have a whip in your hand, you handle yourself so well. The way you took down those two, restraining Bunny the whole time, it was amazing. And look at the way what you're doing here, looking over all these vitals, making sure every one of them isn't out of the ordinary. That's true. Come on, Kyo, I know you're stronger than this. Start acting like it. These words, while they took her off guard for a moment, seemed to push her in the right direction. She put a hand to her face and wiped away the tears. As she did, she began to remove the wires from my body gingerly with a smile. Your vitals are normal, Kenji. If you feel anything else abnormal with your body within the next 48 hours, then please let me know, okay? I smiled and nodded, as I did. She pulled me towards her in an embrace, and I felt her chest squish against mine. I felt my face go hot as I locked in the hug for what seemed like minutes. Suddenly, she pushed herself away, clearing her throat nervously. Her face was a deep shade of red as well. Right. You wanna, go hang out for a bit in the entertainment room? Sure. Alright, all set up. Ready to play with me? Sure. What are we playing? Generic beat-em-up fighter 5, Revenge of the Revenger. That sounds really dumb. Yeah, well, it's all we got right now, so take it or leave it. Oh! I'm just gonna react every time I see something like this. It just takes me back. I'm not used to getting shots like this on a daily basis. She huffed, then looked at me and giggled, handing me the controller. While we played, I noticed that she played a character with a whip, and that her movements mirrored Kyo's quite a bit, and she tended to kick my butt in most of the rounds. And by most, I mean all. Probably be me in all those type of beat-em-up games. Dang, step up your game, Kenji. Hey, you got the advantage of actually knowing how to play in advance. Fair enough. Say, the character you play as, Vine? Yeah, what about her? She seems to have a similar fighting style to yours. Oh, so you figured it out, eh? Yep, I pretty much learned how to fight through this game. What? But how's that possible? I know, that sounds totally silly. I mean, I practice on my own too. But I always loved how delicate yet forceful Vine was when she fought. So I started studying it really closely, taking notes and taking pictures of certain moves. Then I started taking lessons and practicing in my downtime between college and courses. And before I knew it, I could use a whip like no one's business. Where did you take lessons? Let's save that story for another day, shall we? I could see her face go red once again before picking up the controller for another round. We played for the rest of the day, laughing and smack talking until we nearly passed out. Michelle suddenly entered the room around 11 p.m. Alright, you two, it's getting late. Off to bed. Aw, one more match. Come on, Michelle. No more matches. Off to bed. We have some research to do tomorrow, and we also need to be ready at all times in case Chrome Tech is up to anything. So off to bed, both of you. You're no fun. Alright, night, Kenji. She tackled me in yet another embrace, and on the couch and giggled before releasing me, standing and heading towards her room. I stood and did the same, looking at Michelle before I left, who gave me a quick smirk. Glad you're doing alright, Kenji. I have to say, it's quite a relief. Yeah, same. Thank you, Michelle. For what? If anything, Kiel did all the work today. Yeah, I guess so. Michelle looked at me for a moment before rolling her eyes and pointing towards my room. Alright, Romeo, off to bed now. You never know what tomorrow will bring. Wait, what is that supposed to mean? Whatever you want it to. Now, bed. She guided me to my room before gently closing the door. I stepped over to my bed and collapsed onto it, still fully clothed, more exhausted than I had realized. It turned out time traveling drained more energy from me than I initially thought. Oh! Ooh, this should be interesting. You did quite well yesterday. Thank you, Commander. We're doing our best to make your goals a reality. Keep up the good work. Now that we have all the information we need, we merely need to shift gears into Phase 2. Just lay low for a few days, both of you. We'll be able to enact Project Paradox very soon. Yes, Commander. She seems to be in good spirits. All the pieces are falling into place together exactly as they need to. And when the time is right, we'll be able to put our theory to the test. But don't you find what she's planning to be a tad cruel? Cruelty is subjective. If it's in the name of science, then risks must be taken, even if lives are sacrificed in the process. Whatever you say, Mizuki. That's very suspicious. Okay, this is where I'm going to stop for now, guys. So next time on Time Tenshi, we're going to continue with the story, see what Chronotech's up to, and what Project Paradox is actually. Hopefully it's nothing too... Well, with a name like Paradox in it, it's probably damning. So, until next time, have a lovely day.